So it's very good to be here. Probably the only gray-haired person online. So, at the end of the 25 minutes that I will be speaking, I just want to really reiterate or get home several messages. So first of all, how many of you actually thought of the word dribble? And the dribble, so you can see with the basketball in front of you. So if you play basketball, the one thing you'll have to remember is that the ball that you're constantly pushing onto the floor has to be so automatic that you can actually focus on the 4 teammates that you actually have to play with. But then you have to also think of the 5 opponents who are actually trying to block you. And in the process, you have to keep your eye on the hoop or the ring. And so I am sure there is a reason why they chose the title, because as a designer, it will be very important to get to the hoop, keep your eyes on all the players, and then keep on bouncing the ball as if it was the most natural thing that you could ever do. Like second, like you say, sixth sense once, isn't it? So you got to be doing this. So that's the first thing that we really need to keep in mind. But the second is everything that we've heard so far, but also at the tendency in Nepali society, what we always look at is people or a mindset where we are constantly downloading. So Nepali society in general is a downloading society. So at the end of my talk, if you can actually start convincing yourself that we need to be an uploading society. So Nepalबाट हामीले upload गर्न सक्यौं भने, then we are in the competitive market, because if you read books like Peter Thiel from Silicon Valley, you will understand that any product, any service that you design in the 1 to N sector is not going to get you a lot of money or profitability. You have to be in the 0 to 1. The 0 to 1. So 0 to 1, where nothing existed, you created something new. Where somebody has already created something, then to do 1 to N is an easy thing. So हाम्रो एउटा चलन के छ भने कपी गर्ने अथवा डाउनलोड गर्ने बढी र अपलोड गर्ने अलि कम. So with that, I want to start with just building on what Anil said. Just look at things that are all around us. So for example, Hanuman ढोका, Bhaktapur र Patanko Darbar क्षेत्रमा, the first thing you will see at the entrance to the palace is a statue of Narasimha. Now you think of designers, many centuries ago, who basically said, what is the kind of message or what kind of problem does the king have to solve? So even in your own corporate world, if you are a lower level staff, say for example, whose job is to deliver a letter, so the problem will be black and white. Okay, it's black and it's white. So I need to make photo, copy, 20 copies, black and white. And I need to be in a certain place by this time, that's black and white. But as you start rising up in the hierarchy, you will see that the problems will begin to get gray. You don't have the luxury of solving black and white problems anymore. So if you plan to, or if you ever lived in the palace, then the concept is that your enemy or the problem that you are trying to solve is very gray. So the evil or the enemy cannot be killed during the day, it cannot be killed during the night. It cannot be killed indoors, it cannot be killed outdoors. It cannot be killed by a weapon, it cannot be killed by a human being, it cannot be killed by an animal. So imagine the designers thousands of years ago that were trying to convert those very difficult concepts, and what do they come up with? Is a very simple image of the Narasimha. So it's half man, half lion, and the enemy has to be killed between the earth and the heaven, right at the doorway, just when the sun is setting, so you kill the enemy. So now the point is, if you look at images like this, then hopefully it will inspire you to think design, but based on something that you see all the time, but basically again, to create an uploading society. So you will be in the 0 to 1 field instead of just downloading. I hope it works from this distance. Yes, it does. So, the turtle, one of the most common things that you see. But in the middle of the turtle, you'll see there's a pillar that is going up. So any of you who've traveled also through Suvarnabhumi, the Bangkok airport, you will see there's a big statue with the turtle in the middle, and there's a big shaft. So they're like, so it is called the churning of the ocean. So just like when we separate the butter from the milk, you churn the milk. And so the good and the bad, or the devas and the asuras, they are churning the ocean for elixir, atha amrit. And so just when it looks like the bad guys are going to win, Vishnu takes the form of a tortoise and becomes, so in a mechanical engineering term, the pedestal bearing. So this bearing allows the churning to go on for a few seconds, few hours longer, so that the good guys win. So imagine as a design concept, every company is out to do good. So what does it mean to do good? Often you're buying a little extra time so that the bad side loses and the good side wins. And so the kurma avatar of Vishnu is there basically to explain to us that the good side can win but may require a little extra time. And so some of the companies, some of the examples that you heard, all of them are out there to basically help good win and evil to lose. So let's say pharmaceutical companies, right? So the medicine is to allow good people to win and the disease to lose. So you can use many examples, but again, something that you'll see anywhere when you walk around in the Kathmandu Valley. Okay? Now look at this image, the most common image. So if you're walking up Swayambhu on any day, you'll see the statue of the Buddha. And so if you can just focus on the hand position. So the mudras and the Buddha's mudras are one of the most copied and one of the most emulated iconographs around the world. So in your home, in your chowk, in your chaitya, or in your bahal, anywhere, or even in your living room, you'll see these statues. And so you have to wonder, how come so many people buy copies of this statue? And the reason is very simple. If you look at that hand position, so in the Pali language, it is called the Bhumi Sparsa Mudra, or the earth touching gesture. So anybody in this room who is a designer, who is free thinking, who is extremely motivated, so in the time of the Buddha, he said, you will reach a time in your own life where you do not need any other witness but the earth. So you will not need a visiting card, you will not need a fancy title, you will not need somebody to actually endorse your idea. You will say, this is the best idea, or this is the best thought that I can come up with because this is the earth as my witness. So it's a very powerful message, and it happened to the Buddha at the age of 29. So all of you who are below 29, you still have a few years to catch up because you have to reach that point in your life where you should not be looking for endorsement from anybody. So again, it goes to the 0 to 1 concept where it should be your original idea. It should be your thoughts. And so does anybody going to endorse your idea? No. It is going to be the earth as my witness. So again, if you look at very simple concepts that are all around us, they teach you something very profound, but I hope it finds its way into the kind of design that we will be working on. Okay? Now this gets a little complicated. And so when you go to a Tanka shop, you look at this and it looks very complicated, and then they'll say this is the Kal Chakra, and what you cannot see in the middle, because it is badly painted, is because people are copying. So one of the things that you also have to learn about design is that in this part of the world, when you say copyright, it means copy without making any mistakes. So copyright. So you have to be very careful. So that's why it's been copied so many times, you don't even know what the animal is. So in the middle, there are supposed to be 3 animals. So one is a rooster, one is a snake, and the other is a pig. So this is where you also have to be very careful, because in a gender sensitive world, in a place where you have to be sensitive to people's disabilities, and you got to be politically correct. So can you then say, we can design something based on an ancient tradition where the rooster symbolizes greed. So have you seen the rooster eat? It'll take all the grain and store it in its throat, so greed. The snake symbolizes ego, because it's not very sociable. And the pig signifies ignorance. And so in the Buddhist text, it will say that all suffering will start from these 3 attributes: greed, ignorance, and Greed, ignorance, and ego. So these three things, and so they're symbolized by these three animals. In a Mithila design. So this horse is actually being taken for a sacrifice. So in the old days when the kings were very powerful, one of the things they did was a horse sacrifice. So the story is that this horse is being taken, for a sacrifice, and in the process, somebody who is like an animal lover basically makes sure that the animal or the horse is able to escape. So as the horse escapes, the king is very angry, and he starts burning village after village that is trying to hide this horse. And so as the horse escapes, the armies follow and they burn the village and the horse escapes. So this king is really, really angry. So it says the entire northern part of India at the time became ashes from these burnt villages. So Bhagirath, you can see on the right, then says, I need to pray to bring the Ganges from heaven onto the earth so that we can wash all the, basically the ashes down to the sea. So now there's a big technical, a design problem. And the design problem is that if the Ganges were to land on the earth directly, then the earth may get shattered. So the plan is to land the Ganges on Mahadev's head so that it actually decreases the velocity. And so that way the earth will be safe. Now, again, a very complex concept, but look at the designer's task. So there's Bhagirath praying for the Ganges. Look at Ganges. Modi will cry if he sees the Ganges today because the notion of a beautiful woman again depicting a clean river, and then of course Mahadev, which looks very worried. What's going to happen with the Ganges landing on my head? Now the point is, if you look at this picture, and so just a couple of weeks ago, so this is where we are in Kailas. So that's actually Kailas, and that's where the Ganges actually falls on Mahadev's head. And so out of that is created the Mansarovar Lake, from where the four major rivers of Asia begin. So the Satluj flows through Pakistan, the Ganges flows into India, the Humla, Karnali, Humla and Mugu Karnali, they flow into Nepal, and the Brahmaputra flows east and then comes down in Arunachal and then comes down in Bangladesh. Now, we're trying to save this landscape as a protected area, but a sacred landscape that is a contribution of Nepal, India, and China as a joint national park. And so when you think of design, when you think of branding, just imagine you're trying to brand 31,000 square kilometers of sacred landscape for at least 1 billion people who want to visit this place once in their lifetime. And so these are the kinds of challenges you have to put your mind to, because these are ongoing projects that you can actually be involved in. But if you use the previous picture, now this picture will cater only to those who know the Hindu or the South Asian mythology. What about the Bompo mythology? What about the Buddhist mythology? What about the Nepali mythology? What about the science fiction writers who also go to Mansarovar, and they also believe that the history of the earth began from Mount Kailash. So if you are catering to all these people who go to Kailash, you cannot use this image because it probably means nothing to them. Can you imagine, just like your mug, showing it to somebody and say, this is the story of Kailash? And I know, when we studied engineering, there would be a very complex picture in the book, and below the illustration it would say, the above picture is self-explanatory. So look at this. By the time you come to Chhauni Museum and you look at Kailash, it already looks very different. In fact, I'm quite amazed that Mahadev and Parvati, they're actually drawn with almost the Kailash shape in the backdrop. But then you can see it gets very complicated because all the characters in that story come to life in the form of stone, medium. Now the last picture here is, look at that. This is again things that you see around you. And so the Ganges in Kathmandu Valley is reflected by the water flowing in the Dhungedara. But look below the Dhungedara, you see the character down below. So that is actually Bhagirath bringing the Ganges, from heaven into earth. And so you'll see this as the most common, thing around, Kathmandu. So what I wanted to really emphasize was that there are many things around us that can inspire us. But the point is, as good designers, you have to have the notion of uploading and not just downloading, because in a competitive world, you need to find concepts that also begin from our part of the world, and you can teach, to the rest of the world, because they will be original in shape. And so, just before I end, if you go to the market, there is a book called, Father Moran of Kathmandu. And so he was a Jesuit, priest here. And in the 1960s and 70s, there was a time when the Russians, the Tsars from Russia, were escaping all around the world. And so one family had actually settled in Kathmandu. And so one day in the book, it's quoted that this Russian family asked, Father Moran, these Nepalese are very strange, people. Every morning I see them going around Kathmandu, and every time they see a shrine, they take some rice and sprinkle on it. And they don't look like wealthy people, they don't look like very rich people, they don't look, very prosperous. And yet every morning they take this rice and they keep on sprinkling, which is very strange. So can you explain, why people do this? And so Father Moran, in the book, he replies by saying, when you understand this, you will also become a Nepali like me. So being Nepali, or being local, or promoting things that are local is also something that hopefully you will incorporate into your design. Our baggage, you'll have to buy me beer.
Again.